Okay, good morning to all. So yesterday we discussed about why big data is required, what is the why we have to know the statistical inference and all. So if you take out the statistical inference, that is mainly made to do the analysis, okay, and to arrive at some decisions. So we take the particular example, how the human being is going to be carried out his task from the day it starts and the it ends, whether data requires, whether all the data is required for making the analysis or not. So those things we have discussed yesterday. So this today we are going to discuss about what you mean by population samples with respect to the statistical inference what you are going to make. So when you are going to have the statistical inference to be made, so now, so it is not going to, when you are specifying with respect to the population. So here the population is going to represent it only, not with respect to the people. Okay, so it will not simply describe only the people. So population is what, whatever the data you are going to take. So it is not the people. So but it may be any parameter or any attribute what you can tell. So if you take, so population here still depending upon the type of the analysis or the prediction which you want to make. So what are the attributes you have to consider to that particular analysis to be made. So that will be referred by your uh, population. Okay. So now whenever you are going to have that particular inference to be made, so it can be a set of objects or units, such as if you want to have them, so what is the number of students of USVC. So that time you should have the images. So if you have to check with respect to the objects, it may be a set of objects or units which are going to have. So if you talk to make the tweets analysis, so you have to make use of the tweets. Okay. So now after having that particular sample tweets or any population, so with respect to some samples will be taken, because all the objects you are not going to consider. Okay. So if you take some certain of a certain amount of object, so I want to discriminate that. So how many red color objects are there? So what is the percentage of red color objects are there from that particular set of given object? So like that, if it is there, then I have to take the sample of what? So take the sample of around red color. So from that particular, I have to differentiate which is the light red, dark red, depending upon my analysis. But for the um, purpose of the making the decisions, I have to select that particular object. So you are going to select the object depending upon by taking the population. So population will be the entire object which will there. From that particular entire object, I don't require the entire object to come to the decision. So I require only some samples to come at the decision. So for example, if you take the product, for example, rice. So if you want to take the rice, I want to check that which is a good rice. So if you want to take with a good rice, I cannot take all the rice which are there in the market. So I have to select only some set of rice which is suited for me. So then from that particular set of suited rice for me, so then I have to select the and give the attributes which is better for me. So then I have to make samples and I have to arrive at the conclusion whether I can purchase that particular rice or not. So now for to arrive at the particular conclusion, what we require. So basically we require the observations also. So I have to do the observation. So basically when you talk about the observation, so what do you mean by observation?
The voice is not audible, sir.
So it's audible right now. Okay. So now it's audible now.
Yes, sir, it's audible now.
So we are from the set of characteristics which you want to have. So basically, it is used to measure the characteristics, okay, or it has to extract the characteristic of all those objects. Now, if you take this particular features of that particular characteristics, so if you take for your section, if you want to find who is the topper for your class, so then first I have to check if I have to take the results of your entire system result from the particular system result of all the departments from the college. So I have to segregate the results of fifth sem CSE students from the fifth sem CSE students. Once I get that particular result, so I have to extract who are the people belong to the B section or A section. So after segregating that particular information, depending upon that particular parameter attribute, so I have to find the I have to do the analysis. So after doing the analysis, I can make a decision that this particular person is first and this particular person is second. So now population when you are going to have, so this basically refers to people who are sent the email from an organization. So this is one example what you are going to have. So the population refers to what? So the people who have sent the email from an organization. So if you take the email from an organization, what are the different observations you are going to make? So if you take that particular observations, there are many number of uh, observations you can make it here. So just to take this, what are the names you're going to have? So if it is a single observation, list of things which you're going to have. So one observation which you're going to have is one is sender's name. Okay. So who is the person who is sending that particular email? So the observation list of things which has to consider when you are sending the email. The second is the list of recipients to whom you have been sent. So sender's name should be there. So then what are the who are the people who you have to send that particular mail and on what date it is going to be sent. So on what date that particular mail is sent. So what is the text you have been made in that particular email when you are sending it. So then what are the number of characters in that particular email you have been used and what is the number of sentences in the email you have sent and now what is the number of verbs in the email and the length of time until first reply. So it means these are the single observation. So it's for single observation you don't have. So to make when you are going to have what? So when you are sending email. Okay, so when you are sending the particular email, so these are some set of observations which you are going to make. One is the sender's name, other is list of recipients. So what date you are going to send that particular information. Okay, so then you are going to have and we are going to have text of email, so number of characters in the email, so in the number of sentences in the email which you require, number of verbs which you want in the email, so length of time until first reply. So these are some of the observations which are going to have, because if you take any email, so I have to set that how many verbs are there in that character which are in the mail which you have been sent. So for that one, what you require? We require the time. We require the number of sentences which are typed from that particular type of characters which are been typed, and in that particular words, what are the verbs you have been used, so that you have to use it. Okay, so that's how it is going to be done. So now we are going to have this particular reference with respect to email. So next, we are going to have the aspects of big data. So what already we know that. So if we have the multiple aspects of big data, so here it is what is going to happen is going it is going to record the everyday life needed to be addressed, because when you talk about the big data, so what it is going to have, the data is then about what you are going to record everything. So what record you are going to do? So every day, as every day life, what you are going to do. So that particular thing, that particular record you are going to uh, record it. So in whatever it is going to happen in everyday life. So now for that particular thing, so what you have to make is you have to do the sampling process. Okay, so sampling solves some engineering challenges. So if you have to do the sampling for that, if from that particular big data, already we know that what do you mean by big data, which is having data which is greater than petabyte. Yes, so that is what you are going to have the petabyte according to the definition of the books which have been referred. So now in that particular population which are going to have, so we are going to have some samples of data. So what is the purpose of having the sampling? Why we have to do the sampling is the next thing. So sampling when you are doing it, so basically sampling what it does, it solves the engineering challenges, because when you take the samples, what will happen? So you are going to arrive at some decision depending upon the type of which are being. So if we take the number of samples or amount of data needed to solve the problem, depends upon the what depends upon the type of problem which has been addressed. So for example, if we take, I want to eat the food. So okay, eating good food. So is my objective. Good food is my objective. So for that one, I have to search for a hotel. For that one, I cannot take the result, right? So this is a totally different data which you are going to have. So for that one, I require the different entity or different attribute only when you want to get it. So the number of samples or amount of data which you want to address or if you need to solve the problem, it depends upon what? It depends upon the type of problem which you have been addressed. Okay. So now, it is not, and whenever you are going to have the data, right? So it is not mandatory to store all the data all the time, because if you store all the data all the time, what will happen? So the data will be getting overloaded with the data which is there. So even when the data which is overloaded, if you record everything which is there, the data, so even the irrelevant data which is required, irrelevant data which is not required for my analysis, so that also been stored. That's what I need to do. So once I clean that particular data process, so I can remove the data which is not necessary for me. So it is not mandatory in your big data analysis, so or in your data science, so to store all the data all the time. So how we are going to use for that one? So you have to remove the biases. So if you have to remove the hidden biases of the data, so you are going to have some biases in that particular data. So biases is what which will be affecting your proper output. So biases is going to harm the output which you are going to have. So it is on the decision making analysis or harm decisions. Okay, or decisions are analyzed. So it is nothing but what it is analyzing the tweets where some disaster happened in a particular place. Because depending upon the tweet, we are going to, if we take one example of tweets, so in this particular addressing of tweets, what will happen? So depending upon that particular tweet, so what event has been happened. So if someone tells us it is going to rain today, so it is going to have. So I mean during that particular rain, so what is happening? Some person may be shopping in the some place. So or some person may be doing some partying in one place. So but due to some of the reasons, what will happen? So the person who is going to tell or tweet, the person who is going to tweet not will not be in that place where the rain is coming. For example, if you take in Bangalore, the rain is coming. Okay, rain coming. So it is heavy rain is coming. What you are going to have? So at during that particular time, some place what will happen? Some place, so some will be shopping. So you are going to have shopping outside. It will be raining. So I'm not going. In some place, what will happen? Some place they are going to have some party. The people which are going to have. So just when you are doing this particular scenario, okay. So now what will happen? So if you are observe the tweet, so that tweet is coming from Chennai, because the person who is residing in Chennai, so coming from Chennai. So during that particular time, whether you can come to the conclusion, no. So I have to come to the conclusion only if the tweet is coming from Bangalore only. Because if the person is telling from the Chennai place, is going to tell that it is raining in Bangalore. So now I don't have any confirmation that whether it's raining in Bangalore or not. So the person who is in Bangalore has to tell that that particular rain is happening in Bangalore, and in this particular locality, the rain what is happening is more. So these are some of the events which will bring, and those data has to be recorded. So depending upon the tweet. So even if you take the tweets, so how the tweet has to be considered, so it depends upon the location of that particular tweet from where they have been made. So it is going to have the tweet analysis which you are going to have. So the occurrence of that particular event in that particular place, and some will be plotting after the occurrence of that particular event also, because after the rain comes also, some will be doing some other some other gathering in during that particular place. So now once you have that one, so if you take this particular sampling process, so what in statistics, so we are going to often call as model. So when you are going to have the model, the relationship between the population and the sample. So what I mean by model, already you know that model is nothing but any algorithm or any mathematical procedures. Okay, so model is nothing but whatever the algorithm or mathematical procedures which you are going to follow to arrive at the conclusion. So that is nothing but a model. So it's in statistics what we are going to refer. So if one model is the relationship between what? Between your population and sample. So we are going to implement some algorithms or mathematical model So with respect to the population, which are from the population, and from that particular population, we are going to collect some samples. So it's one of the simple example is your elections. So okay, from the elections, we are going to take the sample from the entire population who have voted. So from that particular voted people, so some samples you are going to take. So which to whom they have voted for. So depending upon the number of uh, person who has voted for some particular party, so we are going to arrive at the conclusion that so this particular party may come in the future. So that is what. So we are going to have one exit poll arrival survey and pre-poll survey and post-poll survey, right? So this is nothing but what? So we are going to make the analysis from where? From a set of population which you are going to have. So this is one example where you can have. So they are going to make with respect to the underlying mathematical process. So you are going to have some mathematical process which will be there running at the back end. So if you take any algorithm, so that algorithm will be made depending upon some mathematical procedures. Okay, so this particular mathematical procedures you are going to use, and you are going to build that particular model. So after getting the result from that one, so we are going to make simplifying the assumptions. Okay, so we are going to make the assumptions about the underlying truth. So that is whatever the assumptions or whatever the analysis you are going to make, it is simply what? It's an assumption, but it is not accurate. So accurate result only thing when it occurs or when it happens. Because now whatever the analysis I'm going to do with respect to the data is only the assumptions. It may happen, but it is not true that it will happen itself. So it may go wrong also some of the times because it depends upon the many parameters. So when I'm building my model, some parameters by knowingly or unknowingly have missed that one. Okay, so it may simplify the assumptions about the underlying truth. So the time generated process creating data, because when you want to make the assumptions and underlying truths, what you require the data. So now when if you are generating data, generating uh, the process of creating the data is fast, then obviously the result is going to get fast. So now, if I'm going to tell you that so this particular person is a good person, so how I can tell? So I can ask the surrounding people of US. So I cannot ask the person who doesn't know you, because they cannot judge you at that time. So those samples will become not irrelevant for me at that time. This one simple example what you can tell. So inside your class, people who will be favor of you, or it will be not having a favor of you. So the person who is going to be having favor of you is going to speak in favor of you only. A person who is not in favor of you is going to speak not not having any favorability towards you. So if you take this particular type of scenarios, so totally it depends upon what, it totally depends upon the process that particular data has been created. Okay, so if you take all the emails of the big of population, it is this particular big operation is the example what they have taken in the textbook. So as I told you already, that what are the list of observations that have been done. So and if you randomly sample from that particular population by reading some but not all emails, because when you are reading some assumptions what you are going to have, so we have to read all emails. But what I'm going to do, so I'm going to read only some emails. So reading some of the emails from the entire population. Reading some emails means what is only the sample, what you are getting. So from the set of population. So you're reading only the sample. So you are going to have that particular sample. So reading, but not all emails. Then that sampling process will create one particular sample. Okay, this particular process which you are going to take, that only you are reading one certain set of emails. So then one particular sample is going to create it. So even if you want to refine further, so if you refine further, what will happen? So it will give you the different set of observations. So depending upon the type of the conversation which has been made in that feed. So as and when your sampling will be done, so the number of iterations which you are going to take in the doing the sampling, so the set of observations will keep on changing, because one will be using some word called as I am working on network, and someone will be telling that I'm working on data science. Now depending upon that particular email, so how you can judge what is your problem is, what is the observation I'm going to make, so what the requirement of the employee is from that particular email. So to arrive at that particular conclusion, it will become difficult for us. Okay, so for that thing, so the resampling will get a different set of observations whenever you are going to get the resampled. So the resampled, we will get this different set of observations which you are going to have. So the observations will be different when you're doing the resampling process. So now, when you are going to have this particular list of observations which have been made, that is how many sentences are there and how many characters are there, and who are the recipients, who has sent that particular email, at what time it has been sent, on what date it has been sent, whether that particular date is relevant for me for my doing my analysis. All these things has to be taken into consideration. First, all the dates you are going to take into consideration. After taking the dates from that particular date, I have to resample again. So, for example, if I want to check that, so on this particular date, 15th, these are the mails which have gone. So on 15th date, I will filter out that. So I will take the mail which is sent only on 15th May. After taking that particular mail, I will have to resample again. That means what? So I have to check with this particular verb only, whether that particular verb is there or not. So whether that particular word is there or not in that particular email. So depending upon the type of the word which is there in that particular email, I'm going to refine again. So your visibility should, I think, in 1 minute. So you're going to have 5 minutes of time. So just attempt it.